Fear is a crazy thing. There have been times in my life where I've run away from fear, and I've ended up in a mess 10 times bigger than the mess I would have been in if I had just stood there and just faced that fear for a moment longer. And one of the biggest fears, I think that's pretty universal, is the fear of death, right? It's pretty scary. And in order to avoid that death, if given the opportunity, I think a lot of people would. Now, at first glance, what I'm about to propose might seem like a hypothetical, so hypothetical that it's never going to happen and it's not worth thinking about. But it really is something worth thinking about. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a half an hour, just a couple days of thinking about this might save you literally thousands of years of suffering. And I guess the question I propose is, if you were to stumble across a genie who gave you 3 wishes, where are you going with that? Because a lot of people, for one of those 3, would go straight to immortality. Makes sense. Fear of death is scary. Immortality, don't have to worry about that fear anymore. But in hiding from that fear, you might end up backing yourself into something much, much worse. Okay. The first thing I'd like to point out is that immortality, there are various different brands of immortality, right? Depending on where you get it, depending on who you get it from, there's always going to be a fine print. I think immortality in itself isn't the problem, but it's the type of immortality, right? So, does the immortality involve being invincible? Does it involve being immune to aging, right? Because, okay, let's imagine for a second, you've got your immortality, but you're not actually invincible, right? So you're living your life, you're immortal, you feel like you're on the top of the world. You're going to live through a lot of things. You're going to live through the rise and fall of empires. You're going to live through countless wars, where you're going to be exposed to bombs and chemicals and probably the guillotine. I mean, chances are the guillotine will return at some point in human history. If it isn't still in, it's probably still in use somewhere in the world. So let's say you're part of some sort of revolutionary war effort 2,000 years from now. They capture you, chop your head off in a guillotine. But you got your immortality. But what part of you is immortal? Is it the head that stays immortal? Is it the body that stays immortal? Is it both? Whatever the answer is, it sounds pretty hellish, because now you're just sort of like a head, just laying on the ground. Or worse, you're a body without a head. And then, like, can you still think? Or are you just sort of like you just sort of like move like a worm and you don't really have any... And I mean, having to do with both, that sounds even more chaotic. Like, you've got your head where you're just like thinking all day long, but you can't actually move or exercise or do anything. And then your body, you're trying to juggle both and switch back and forth. And, you know, maybe you're really cautious, right? Maybe you avoid wars. You go off into a little corner of the world, right? What about a forest fire, right? You know, if you get burnt and you turn into ashes, now you're just, what are you, ashes forever? You're immortal. But that doesn't mean you're immune to burning, right? Unless you specifically get immortality that includes a certain invincibleness, right? That's why the fine print is so important in a thing like this, right? Even if you avoid the wars, even if you avoid the forest fires, right? If you're just like perfectly safe, if you lock yourself in this like metal box of an igloo, you're still going to age, right? How enjoyable is life at 500 years old, assuming you keep aging like a normal person? Can you even move at that point? Can you even think? Or you're just sort of like there, shitting your pants 24/7. So basically, immortality without a sort of impregnability, invincibility, indestructibility is just a no-go, right? You've got to get that baked in, right? If that counts as 2 wishes, make it 2 wishes, okay? Because just immortality it's not going to fly. Right, so even once you've locked in immortality, with the invincibility add-on included, once you've accounted for all contingencies, even after that, there's still some problems that need to be addressed, right? Because even if you live forever, even if you're indestructible, our world's not going to live forever, right? Our people are not going to live forever. Unless you're able to secure immortality for everyone, it's probably just going to be you. Maybe a couple others who also stumbled across the genie, right? But when our world blows up, right? What, you're just going to be floating through space? I mean, even like NASA aircrafts have a hard time getting from outer space back onto planet Earth, right? So you think you just like floating through the air is going to be able to land on another planet, right? I mean, you could just be floating through space just on your own in the freezing cold for just millions of years, just floating and floating. I mean, even if there are like other planets with life and whatnot, I mean, it's going to take light years to get there. So, I mean, you're in for the long haul. And like, what are you going to do for those 100,000 years you're floating through space? You're just playing tic-tac-toe against yourself in your head? Or... It would be nice to have at least one friend, you know? I think having one immortal friend you could sort of go on the journey with would help things. But here's the thing, like, let's say you arrive at this planet that also happens to have life, which is no certainty, right? Let's say they've got a thriving society, a thriving whatever. They're not, necessarily going to be human, right? That could be any sort of living organism. They'll probably look completely different from us. But based on the way humans treat outsiders, you can expect them to treat you with not the most hospitality. You'll probably be thrown into a lab. You'll probably be dissected on. You'll probably turn into a literal human guinea pig. Right? Their way of communicating might not have nothing to do with vocal cords. It might be through flinging airwaves with their hands or something. I mean, you might be completely ostracized from society, even if they're nice, even if they want to welcome you in. There might just be no way for the human body to sort of interact within this new society. Like, imagine they're all sort of like a bunch of really smart giraffes. Like, good luck going on a date with a giraffe, right? Good luck playing poker with a bunch of giraffes. Like, it's hard to envision like a fulfilling life. There's just a lot of sort of instances where you end up in this just absolute hell. And the thing about immortality is it isn't like immortality until I decide, okay, I'm done. Like, the thing with immortality is it's forever. Like, there is no mortality. So unless you find another genie, I mean, you're either floating around for eternity, essentially hell, or you're living in a society that your body simply cannot, you just simply can't assimilate with because of the, right? Or you're just a guinea pig forever. I mean, it's either hell or it's hell or it's hell, and there's potential, like it could work out, but it doesn't seem likely. Now, if you wanted to use one of those wishes to immortalize a bunch of humans, now you're starting to think in the right direction, right? Because then there's the possibility to colonize other places once our planet gives up. If you could get the smartest minds, if you could get NASA on your team, right, then you might have some spaceships to your disposal, right? There are ways to work through the problems presented, but you got to work through those problems. You can't just jump into immortality willy-nilly and expect everything to turn up roses, fly up roses, smell like roses in the face. You can't expect roses to slap your face just like that, right? So yeah, I hope I'm not crushing anyone's dreams here, but I just advise caution, that's all.